Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market, and let's figure out what is happening today and what we can expect, of course, moving forward as per usual. So if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section is live. The link is down below. For just $2.99, you get access to all my intraday thoughts, posts, updates, etc. every single day that the market is open on Tesla stock, options flow, etc. So again, if you're interested, the link is down below. Definitely check it out. But my members have been getting some obviously pretty solid updates today, right? We talked about how all the resistance points were coming up throughout the day and they pretty much rejected and got supported at almost every single resistance point that I talked about today. You can see here the 1 hour resetting to about the 171-ish. That's exactly where we reset to in the intraday time frame as well. And yeah, anyway, so these are the kind of things I constantly share with them, and yeah, it's pretty good and people seem to like it and enjoy it, especially given it's only $2.99. So link below. But let's jump into a Tesla closing the day up in the green, actually, nice to say, up just over 2%, closing the day at just shy of $172 per share, which compared to the market is a pretty, respectable outperformance, right? SPY pretty much did nothing all day today. QQQ only up about 0.25%. So respectable outperformance. Now let's talk about what we can expect moving forward. Let's start off in the smaller time frame first, and let's figure out what happened today and what it can mean moving forward. So first and foremost, we had a nice little gap up today, right? We did actually almost fill the gap from the morning, which is nice to see, but we didn't quite fill the gap. So we technically do have a small little gap here at 168.5 roughly, which was obviously the close of Friday, right? And we got pretty close to filling, but we didn't. Now, as we had this morning push up, you can see in the 1 hour, we came into overbought territories. As we also entered that 175 resistance point, we got rejected, and now we're kind of setting up a consolidation point, which seems like it may be, if you go over to a slightly smaller time frame over here, maybe a potential, it's not like super convincing now because we just kind of went sideways here, but maybe a potential little mini bull flag breakout that may hopefully play out, sometime this week, maybe after CPI on Wednesday. We have PPI tomorrow, CPI on Wednesday. So one of those can be a bit of a catalyst, if you will, to move higher or lower. But as of right now, the stock looks like it wants to move higher, right? Because again, going back to the 1 hour, before over here, like I said many times, we were oversold as we're kind of bleeding into this oversold and extreme oversold territory, even over here back at 167, 168 level down here. But then obviously we bounced from it, went from one end of the spectrum to the other on the 1 hour, and now we're of course consolidating. The 4 hour chart also shows interesting things where we're still technically slightly oversold on the 4 hour, nothing major, but ever so slightly oversold, and a reversion back to the mean on the 4 hour chart will put us back to about $177 per share, which I can see happening sometime this week. Like, that would not be completely out of the equation. I don't know when, maybe tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, maybe Thursday, maybe Friday. I don't know, but I would not be surprised if that, at some point this week, honestly, we come down or up rather to about 177, 176, something along the lines of that. So keep that in mind. That's something to pay attention to. Now, going over to the daily chart, you can see, on Friday, we did close below this kind of 20-day, roughly, I guess, moving average, which is this white line over here. We did close slightly below it, right? Even though we held it the past 2 days, which is interesting. But today, we came right back above it. We gapped up as well. And that was a good sign to see because we finally closed above it. Now, if I remove this indicator, what you can notice here is the fact that we are potentially setting up a daily looking bull flag, right? That looks something like this. It's a pretty steep bull flag, but you can see a massive move up that we had, obviously, from the lows over here at pretty much 140 up to almost $200 per share. Massive run up, and now we're essentially consolidating, bleeding down slowly, filling this gap, which we did on Friday, which is good to see, and we held above it, which is also good to see, and going back above 170. A lot of good things there. That's thumbs up in my opinion, right? Stochastic is reset as well, which is nice to see. The MACD is close to crossing bearish, but not there just yet. So we're still good there on that aspect, which is nice to see. But all in all, we're setting up what looks to be a pretty textbook looking bull flag on declining volume, which is very nice to see. So I would not be surprised if, honestly, after Wednesday CPI data comes out, we potentially get a bit of a rally, moving up even higher, and potentially even come back up at some point within the next few weeks, even back up to somewhere around the high 90s to very, very low 200s, like 205, I would say. Is that kind of short to medium term target over the next few weeks. I want to make that very clear. Not tomorrow, not even probably this week, over the next few weeks. I don't think that will be completely impossible. But obviously, there's still a lot of things we have to think about before we even get there, which we'll talk about in terms of support and resistance levels very, very soon. But ultimately, again, what I see, it's just a nice looking bull flag, a very textbook looking bull flag. As long as if the consolidation in a bull flag like this is on decreasing volume, that's pretty damn textbook, right? That's kind of what you want to be seeing in this case as a bull, right? And it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty darn good. And the way to really, in my opinion, play out this bull flag is obviously, a break out of the bull flag itself, which at this point will pretty much be a break above today's high. If we can break above today's high at some point this week, like I don't know when, but sometime this week, which will be pretty much above 175 to 176. That should be a pretty damn good trigger, because that not only gives us puts us back above this volume profile, which at the moment is showing some signs of a resistance here, but it'll bring us above that. It'll break us out of this bull flag. It'll break this little consolidation range that we've been having for the past 4 rough days right here, for the 4 trading days, right? Which you can see have all been rejecting us at very similar levels, which is about that 175 to 176 level. So we'd want to break above that, and a break above that can bring us up into the low-ish 180s, which would be of course another resistance point, and a break above 185 to 187 will bring us back up to, at the very least, this almost 200 to about 205 levels. So those are the main levels of the upside I'd be looking at, with each level breaking essentially unlocks the level after that, if that makes any sense. Now let's talk about the downside, right? What support levels do we have to look out for here that can support us, can contain selling pressure and whatnot, right? Well, first and foremost, obviously, this gap fill that we talked about many times, right? We talked about how if we lose 170, we'll get this gap fill of 168 back on I think Thursday or Wednesday of last week. And that's exactly what we got, right? But we held it. It actually showed a bit more support than I personally expected. I didn't think it'll be this strong support, but it ended up being a pretty decent support, which is good to see. So that would be the first level I'd look out for, right? Obviously, we have 170 itself, followed by that 168.5-ish gap fill, which we have acted as a support so far. And if we ever lose pretty much the low of Friday, which is pretty much right around that 167, 168-ish level, I do expect us to come back down all the way to the 160s to 163. That general range would be what I would expect. So keep that in mind. That is kind of what I expect. And that is pretty much the main support level to look out for. And that's kind of what I would be expecting if we do lose that gap fill 168 support level. So that's important to understand. Now, again, MACD still looking decent. RSI looking decent. Stochastic has officially reset. The weekly MACD is now once again flirting with a bullish flip, but again, like I said last week, also on Monday, there's a lot left to the week that you want to be careful about. But it has been making more bullish, a bullish trend, if you will, as the MACD has been getting closer and closer and closer to flipping bullish. So it is looking pretty promising, but we'd want to see, of course, an actual weekly closed candle with the MACD flipped bullish to really get any form of confidence from this, because again, this can still change pretty easily like it did last week. So keep that in mind. That is important to understand. But that's kind of the main thing I'm looking at right now in terms of Tesla and the overall, chart and the way it looks, right? I think it's going to really come down to PPI tomorrow and especially CPI on Wednesday to really see where the market and where Tesla itself really wants to go moving forward from here. So keep that in mind. In terms of options flow, we were kind of all over the place. We had some pretty decent puts come in around 2:30 p.m. You can see about almost 2 million worth of puts here that came in, 190 strike coming in for this Friday, actually. Around 172 when Tesla was trading around 172 for 190 strike. So it is in the money. So it's a little bit on the safer end, but it is a weekly. So it's still pretty damn risky regardless. But, clearly some bears think that, we may be heading our way back down a tiny bit. So we'll see if they're correct or they're not correct. We'll see how that actually plays out. But all in all, nothing too crazy. I mean, Tesla did have the most bearish flow here. You can see about 90 million. But in terms of individual flow, nothing really stood out to me that, just was super worth mentioning. It was surprisingly a little bit of a slower day today in the options flow. There wasn't as many things to mention. So that is something to note. But I think, again, the way I look at it just strictly off the technicals is that we're just consolidating in a pretty textbook looking bull flag on descending volume, which looks like it does want to break out sometime this week, probably sometime this week. I'd be surprised if it takes much longer than that to at the very least get some breakouts. At the very least, maybe come back up to the high 170s this week. Like, really wouldn't shock me. But of course, we'll take it level by level and day by day. And that's just the overall thing I'm looking at right now. But ultimately, if I had to take a stab at it right now, in my opinion, Tesla definitely looks more bullish than bearish here. If I had to take a stab with, again, all those support levels and resistance levels that I just talked about to pay attention to as well. But yeah, with all that being said and done, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. And yeah, peace.